right. I'm not sure how well this is going to work because I'm not sure that the microphone on my webcam is good enough to pick me up at a distance. Um, but I'm going to test that with this video. What I decided to do today, in the scope of your Buddhist study, um, it's very important to be in a condition, a health condition uh, that promotes your ability to meditate, to focus, to concentrate well. And by well, I mean deeply and without distraction. Um, Obviously, if you just broke a leg or maybe a sprain, or your general health is such that you're lethargic and you're tired, um, uh, and your body's not in proper functioning order, everything you do is tainted by it. Um, if you have pain in your body, a lot of your mind spends its time concerned with creating thoughts of being uh, uh, either directly involved with the pain or indirectly involved with the pain. There's a situation of stress. Pain creates a tension in your body. There's all sorts of ways that it distracts you. Now, this is why I've chosen uh, to add to my teaching curriculum Qigong and also some Tai Chi Chuan. And I do know in my life I've studied a great amount of Chinese martial arts, Japanese martial arts, some Indian martial arts, even some Korean martial arts, as well as some esoteric things. Um, but the martial arts I want to focus on, and perhaps better said, the aspect of martial arts I want to focus on as a Buddhist monk are the aspects of martial arts that are the very root of the martial arts. Some of you may know the story that the Shaolin, the great Shaolin temple in China, um, had many monks dedicated to Taoist practice um, who just meditated all day. And the king or emperor of that region of China, northern China, uh, called for a Buddhist scholar from India, Bodhidharma, to come and help his monks, because the emperor pretty much was the one who funded the temples that they worshipped in and so forth, or practiced in. And they were having a serious problem. Uh, a lot of the food that the monks ate at that time was stored there on the property in cellars and cold rooms and that kind of thing. And a lot of it was rice, but okay, other things as well. And what would happen is, since these temples were located usually in a somewhat remote region, I mean, not impossible to get to, but they were never built in the center of town. They were always way out on the outskirts or up on a hill, that kind of thing, to promote the silence and lack of distractions that the monks needed to focus and meditate. Well, what was happening is bands of marauders would come in and break into the temple, kick the monks' butts, and steal all their food. And this was not only an inconvenience, but it was terribly demoralizing to the monks, certainly, but the community as well, who, in their giving to support the monks, would give some of their own food, and the emperor would subsidize that, and it would go to marauders, and then they had starving monks. So Bodhidharma came in as kind of a Lee Iacocca type character to help rebuild the confidence in the monks, and diagnose and try to figure out what needed to be done, kind of as a consultant, to secure the temples. So Bodhidharma was called upon specifically because of his Buddhist knowledge. Um, what Bodhidharma decided, after being there just a short time and observing the monks during their meditation and their practice and just the way they carried themselves throughout the day, is that they weren't breathing well, they weren't breathing properly, their health was in a poor state, they weren't eating regularly, but there was a lot they were not doing with their bodies proper that was conducive to creating a healthier individual, let alone the food. So this is the beginning of martial arts in China as we know it. There were other arts in China, to be sure. But when you hear the word Kung Fu or Tai Chi of any sort, Tai Chi Chuan being the correct, complete word for what's happening there, and I'll get into that some other time. What Bodhidharma did was he came up with a strict program he called I'm going to misquote this, but it's the sinew and tendon regeneration exercises. Because basically their bodies were just not functioning the way they were designed. And because of attrition, they just weren't being used. So Bodhidharma had, I think, 8 stances and, anyway, 13 positions that he worked with that involved the upper body and the lower body and the upper and lower body together. So there were a lot of exercises, specifically, especially in the start, to take in more oxygen. Oxygen is the food of our bodies. The more oxygen you have in your blood, the more acutely aware your mind is, the more your organs are replenished. By that I mean old cells carried out and gotten rid of through waste, and new cells reinvigorated with oxygen to replace those old cells and then fortify all the organs, the tissue. And if you never made a fist in your life, there's a ton of tendons and muscles in working in concert with other tissues and bone to make an effective fist happen. I'm just using that as one example. There's an effective arm reach. It all involves moving the energy of the oxygen that's coming in through your lungs and feeding your entire body. And so these exercises are what evolved into Tai Chi Chuan, which is Tai Chi is our will or volition. Chuan is redirecting our qi, our energy from oxygen, with our will to create an action, a physical manifestation of that will, that thought. to action. Okay? So, this is what later developed into full-blown hard work. Kung Fu means hard work, basically. It's a program of hard work. So if I show you this very pretty, and you've all seen it, the videos of people on grassy fields and parks, and even if you're a fan of any modern martial arts movie, whether it's a good guy or bad guy, will go out onto his terrace in his $40 million home or whatever, and he'll stand out there in very loose fitting clothing, and he'll do these very graceful moves, and usually we'll end them with a little push, or he'll just keep it very soft and move and exercise the flow of the body. If you speed those moves up, then you get things that are, simply by speeding them up, become weaponized. You become weaponized. And that's martial arts. The goal not being to be a weapon so much as to learn so much power and the devastating power of will and chi in the body, that one recognizes that life is incredibly fragile and easily taken away, which should result in tremendous respect for life, and therefore create a person who is very resistant to getting involved in a fight. If you know anyone who's really practiced any kind of martial art for a long period of time, they develop a character that does not want to fight. And I've always taught, and I've always learned from masters who were from that internal perspective first, before they taught the devastating power. We live in America, in the United States, and the United States is a capitalist society that's very aggressive about everything. So I would say over 90% of the martial arts that are practiced in the United States start from the hard end, thinking that if you develop quickly your physical skill, you'll automatically be humbled by it. But that's not often the case. I've witnessed far too many students that have come to me and they want to know how to kick somebody's butt, which is absolutely the reverse attitude of what they should be asking in the martial arts. Anyway, enough said on the martial arts. All of that I say in service to developing your good health as being integral, necessary to having powerful and meaningful meditation, study habits that will stick and actually create room in your brain, instead of just reading idly through something and falling asleep in it, because you don't have the mental stamina. And so this again is the Asian world, but as Western medicine is finding out more and more, the body-mind connection is immediate. It's constantly there. So if one develops good health habits in one's body, one's mind also perceives and develops faster. It's not that you won't develop, it's just that you'll be developing on a sound structure, a sound foundation, which is your body. And your body has its own memory. Okay? So, with all that, there are a few exercises that I want to teach that I think are critical to learning breathing, as well as awakening the flow of your body, the energy flow, the oxygen flow, the blood flow of your body, that will help to increase your stamina, your general health, and your mental awareness. And so in that way, I believe that, like Bodhidharma, these exercises will be a tremendous help to your development of the Buddhist method. to increase your mental perceptive ability and the depth at which you are aware. Okay? So I'm just going to do one today, and these are not difficult. Okay? But they do require focus. And I'm going to do the first few talking through them so you can observe what I'm doing. And I'm going to do the last few. Well, excuse me. We're going to do one exercise, but I'm going to repeat that exercise. And I'm going to ask you to do at least 5 to begin with. We'll do 10 right now. And the goal will be to do 20 to 25 every morning. 20 is a good number. That's fine. If you have the energy, you're younger and you have the energy to do more, then do 20 of the next one that I'm going to teach you. Okay? Now, the first one I'm going to teach today is called Lifting the Sky. And it's a Qigong exercise, which predates Tai Chi, but it's really a branch of Chinese medicine. But it was greatly influenced and broadened with the introduction of Tai Chi, or the sinew and tendon regeneration exercises. So here we go. Dress in loose clothing. You don't want anything cinching you or getting tight when we move around. And the basic movement I'll show facing you, and then from the side so you can get the perspective on the whole thing. The first thing to do, I'm going to ask you to do, is to put your feet squarely under your shoulders. So they're a little bit apart and they're facing straight ahead. Don't be pigeon-toed or duck walking, straight ahead, okay? Now, I'm going to ask you to roll your shoulders 10 times backwards, little circles, medium circles, and then roll them forward. And this is just to relax the shoulder joint, because you're going to be moving around a lot. And you stretch it in the back, whatever works for you. I just want you to loosen those shoulder joints up, okay? Now, shake it out of my arms, shake out the tension, bend your knees just slightly. You just don't want your knees locked. You want them to be just bent. And you'll know that when you unlock them, you'll be like a marionette with a string connected to the top of your head. You're just going to stand here with your arms at your side, relaxed, and you're going to breathe. And our goal here isn't to force ourselves to breathe slow. Okay, I got to breathe slow now, or breathe quickly, or any of that. I want you to breathe enough times and relax, and you'll feel you may have to do a little bit more moving around, move your pelvis around and back and forth. You'll feel the tightness. Okay, let out a breath. And then just breathe 6 to 10 breaths, whatever it takes for you to come to a natural rhythm, unforced. And that should be kind of slow, but don't force it slow. You don't have to evacuate your lungs completely. By the same token, though, I do want you to try to keep inhaling until you feel full, and then just let it out at whatever pace it wants to come out. I do want a bit of a longer breath. And a lot of you who've been smokers or who haven't exercised much, part of the problem that we're going to identify is that you don't breathe in enough. There's a lot of top breathers in the world. They just breathe at the top of their lungs. I want you to feel your breath. And again, I don't really want you to force it, but you may have to a little bit. I want you, when you inhale, to be conscious of continuing to inhale until it fills the bottom of your lungs. Let your belly come out. Okay? We're not in the beauty pageant here. We want your body to work properly. So inhale, let it fill up. And then again, don't inhale till it hurts. Just inhale until you know you've filled your lungs, and then you let it out. You don't blow it out. You just let it out. This is very important because this is going to establish the rhythm of the way you do this exercise. Now I'm just going to do it once without saying a word, and then the second time I'm going to talk through it, which means I won't be able to do it as well, but I want you to be conscious of all the steps here. Everything I do should follow an inhalation and exhalation rhythm. So here we go. I'm going to stand, as I said earlier, my feet under my shoulders, pointing straight. Now I'm going to take my arms. That's right, I said the first one I was going to say anything. So here we go. Okay, I did two that time. I'm going to stand a little further back. I don't know. For this particular exercise, you don't need to see my feet, so I'm going to stay here. Just want your feet to be apart. Now what's happening is I'm gathering chi energy, figuratively, with my hands. And then I'm pushing it into my body, into my chest. And then I continue all the way down to below my navel. Now I've done a complete breath. I've taken in the chi, and now I'm pushing it down into my battery, my storage of chi in my abdomen. When that breath is exhaled, my hands are pointing at each other but not touching. Now I'm going to start another inhalation, which is going to take my hands directly over me, and I'm going to lean back and look at my hands while I'm inhaling. And when I get to the top, I'll be done with that inhale, and then I'll shift my weight to the balls of my feet and straighten my arms and push toward the sky for about 2 seconds. Now, at this point, I'm holding my breath. Then I'm going to release my breath. Let my arms come all the way down to my side. I'm releasing negative energy, unoxygenated cells. And then I repeat. So that's the whole exercise. I'm just going to do it 10 times. And I'll do it from the side this time, so you can see what it looks like from the side. Now my hands are facing my body, but as they go up, I'm going to turn them so that my palms are collecting like buckets of chi. So I'm going to come up. And as soon as I get to my chest, I'm going to start exhaling. So I'm just replacing old energy in my dantian, my abdomen, with the new. While my hands are pointing at each other, I'm going to start another breath. And I'm going to come completely circular over my head. I don't know if the mic is picking up my breathing, so I'm going to do one more sideways, and I'm just going to call out when I start breathing in and when I start breathing out. So you see why the breath is important here. Here we go. Relax, knees unlocked. In. Out. in, out, but just for a second, and then out, release. In, out, in, out. Okay? Now, you need to either do these at a natural breathing rhythm. If you're not, your body will tell you because you'll get dizzy, you'll get lightheaded. That's because you're forcing it. Either you're going too fast or your breath isn't normal. So this exercise will train you in many ways you don't expect without thinking about it. Oops, I'm out of frame. Sorry about that. Looks like Frankenstein. Anyway, so that's all for today. I just want you to do that exercise every morning. Start with 10 repetitions. And then if you want to do some other calisthenics, that's up to you. I'm only asking you to do that. If you can do that before you start to chant and do Gongyo, I think you'll find you'll get a lot more out of your practice and your health will improve. Okay? And you'll have a better day. The next one we're going to do is called Carrying the Moon. It's a little bit more complicated, but it's a wowzer of a wake-up call. If you do that in the morning, you will have a very different day. Anyway, I'm going to stop this video. Thank you. It's nice to have a break from always reading and intensely studying things. This is an intense study also, because you'll have an opportunity as you relax your breath and you do these things to empty your mind of a lot of other distractions. Ideally, you don't want to try to do these exercises in the middle of a daycare center with a bunch of kids running around or jazzercise going on in another room, whatever. You need a quiet spot with as few as possible distractions. Now, it's winter here, otherwise I'd have taped this outside. We have a wonderful 15 acres here, rolling land, rolling hills and land. I promise I will do that when spring comes around. We're going to do some exercises outside. Anybody who lives locally, of course, I'd like them to come with me and practice with me. But that's the story for another day. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Namu Myoho Renge Kyo. And I guess we'll see you next time, okay? Thanks, guys.